Welcome to TV Show, where we talk about Game of Thrones. Last night, Season 6, Episode 9, Battle of the Bastards. It happened. Battle of the Budgets, because now we know where all the money went this episode. So we're going to break it down. Hey there, I'm Maud Garrett with my dire wolf, Billy, right here. I'm stealing a dog, Joel.
Is she a direwolf this week, or is she a Bolton Hound?
No.
She'd
Not
never
too
hurt
soon.
nobody, even if she was starving for 7 days, wouldn't you, Billy?
Days.
She's very sweet.
Matt Lieberman, Joel Rubin, both joining me on the couch for this one. So much to get through, so let's just tackle it straight away. Two big battles. The Battle of Meereen and the Battle of the North. It starts off with Meereen. Dany's pissed, but gosh, she really kept it like contained and calm, eerily so, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, this episode, like from those sequences to the Battle of the Bastards, which we'll get to, obviously, it was just sort of like from moment one, it was kind of like the creators throwing down the gauntlet and be like, you ever complained about the show? Well, see, it was worth it. It was all worth it, wasn't it?
I know.
I loved that she was like very intense, but at the same time, she took in what Tyrion had to say and was just like, cool, good. This is what I'm going to do, but was still able to listen to him. I like their interplay. I like the fact that she still trusts him. Like,
Yeah.
I was half concerned that she was going to be like, well, you're terrible at your job. Obviously, they're attacking, so I'm going to take over and never pay attention to anything you do ever again. This was a really, really awesome sequence.
I think this season has been particularly interesting for Daenerys. I know a lot of people were sort of complaining about how she went away with the Dothraki, and we knew that she was going to come back at some point. So what's the point of it? And to me, like having watched the last specifically 2 or 3 episodes, the point of that whole thing is that she got taken prisoner, and that is the last time that things outside of her control are going to happen to her. I think that we have seen since then a new resolve in her to get shit done. And so the whole purpose of that journey, I think, of her flying away on Drogon at the end of last season, landing in the wilderness, getting taken captive by the Dothraki, is like the switch is flipped in her brain where she's like, I'm done. This is like, I am done. Now I need to complete my mission. My mission is to get my armies together, bring peace to this fucking city, however it's going to happen, and then there will be peace, and then we're going to fucking Westeros.
It's funny, you could actually apply that to most of the women currently in Game of Thrones. So that's what Dany's going through, but then it's very similar to what Sansa's going through, and even Yara at this current stage at the moment too.
How awesome was it to see these two powerful ladies bonding? It was just so great.
You talking about Sansa and Jon?
No, they
he's
were
got
not
long hair.
bonding.
He's
Not
tying
bonding.
it back in a man bun now.
He's got a man bun.
Obviously, obviously that was a great scene between Yara and Daenerys. Let's talk about the battle first, and then we can talk about the aftermath.
Okay.
I got a little bit nervous when, like, there are conversations happening where, Dany's like, you don't approve about what I'm about to do. And he's just like, hey, let's have a chat about this. While there's catapult of, like, flaming debris going into the sides of Meereen.
Well,
and
it's like a brief chat.
I saw it more as her testing him. Like, what is your resolve? Like, you did this thing, and I want to make sure it was in the best interest of like what I've got planned. And so, not only was she making sure that he actually did something for her, which I think he did prove that he did. Like the city, to a certain extent, like came back to normal. And it was the masters, the great masters that came back. But also, she was testing him. Like, how is he going to react when his liege lord, his queen, is like grilling him on the spot? And he reacted like Tyrion reacts. Like, he didn't fly off the handle. He didn't show, like, he wasn't a Lannister in the way that she knows Lannisters to be based on the stories of her brother.
Yeah, he was like, it looks bad, but the people follow you now. You have more of a reputation. Meereen's actually doing pretty well. This is just a little setback.
Yeah.
Well, this is all happening because we're doing well.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's not like I let the city fall. It's we're actively solving all of the problems involved, and other people don't want to see that happen.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think this is the first time in the show that we've seen the negotiations flip, where it's just, actually, maybe it's Return of the Jedi with Luke, where he's negotiating and he's like, no, I'm letting you get out of this situation. They're like, This is what we've got with the negotiations with the 3 slaver leaders, and then negotiating the plans, which is get out of Meereen, let's kill those dragons, and we'll save your life.
Like, it's the same if people are still complaining about Dany repeating the same beats that she's had before, it's essentially the same scene as she had with Krasna's No Maclaws.
Well done.
Thank you.
Did you look that up before
No,
this
I
show?
did not. They mentioned it twice last night. Okay, but it's the same thing that happened with that, where he thinks that he's negotiating one thing, but she's negotiating something else. But the way that they pulled it off, the way that they executed it was so masterful. From you knew that Drogon was going to come back, but then her getting on the other two dragons bursting out of that cave.
And I will say, Matt, you were right. I challenged you on it. I thought that those dragons had somehow gone out the back door, but no, they were still under there. Now, when they did escape and they were flying alongside Drogon, they're stunted a little bit, aren't they?
Because they've been underground, not eating.
Yeah, they've been underground, not eating. And also, I think it's fairly clear that Drogon was the aggressive. He's the leader. He's the alpha dragon.
I mean, he was also killing kids.
Yeah, he was also,
Yeah,
and kids are delicious and nutritious.
They
Yeah,
are?
they got extra vitamins from all the cereal. It's very fortified. I don't know if you're aware.
I think taken as a whole, like as the series will be drawing to a close soon, we can start looking back on the entire sort of scope of the full arc of the stories. We can look back on her original negotiation with Kraznys as a foreshadowing of what was going to happen later, rather than her repeating beat for beat what she did. I think she's learned her lessons, and she's learned when she takes action, she is effective, and when she deliberates and says, "What do I do? Like, I want to bring peace to this city, and I need to like negotiate these things." And that's not her strong suit. That's Tyrion's strong suit, and that's why she's got people like Tyrion or like Varys on her team. But her strong suit is decisive action, and she's learning that lesson herself.
Getting shit done.
Can I say one thing that people probably won't like, but I feel like I need to say? Is,
get it off your chest.
For everything that was awesome about this whole sequence, when she finally said Dracarys and they burned all the ships, Dracarys is a really goofy sounding word, and it does not sound threatening.
Sounds like Draco Malfoy's like grandfather.
Yeah, it just doesn't sound epic or threatening. That moment just kind of like felt a little silly when it really shouldn't have, and I'm probably alone, so feel free to be upset.
I was actually on the flip side of that. I was in the mind of these men who are on these ships, and they've probably never seen a dragon in 100 years, or haven't, obviously they're not 100 years old, but they haven't heard about it.
Yeah.
And here they are, this myth is flying in front of them, and they're just like, whoa, dragons are...
That's what I like. So that's what I, first of all, that's what I like so much about every time Tyrion sees a dragon. If you remember early in the series, he talks about like it was his only desire as a child was to see a dragon. And when he's in the pit, in the gladiator pit at the end of last season, and he sees the dragons
even
for the first
before
time.
when he's in the boat with
when he's in the
Jorah,
boat, yeah.
and it flies overhead, and he's just like, holy shit.
And then in the pit when he sees Dany riding the dragon for the first time, and he's like, oh my god, like this is a queen. This is somebody that I would follow. Like this is a fulfillment of my life. And even like I love that even now, like he's had hand-to-hand contact with a dragon. He's talked to them, he's struck off their chains, he's been down there, he's been up close with them. But even now, after all of that, every time he sees them, he's just full of awe of them. And you could see it again in this scene. And I think that like he absolutely represents how I would feel in that situation. If I lived in that world, I would not try to be a ruler. I would not try and contest with her. I would be like, yes, the woman riding the dragon will be the person I serve forever and ever and ever.
Well, he grounds what dragons represent in this world. And I feel like maybe dragons have lost some of their majesty perhaps to the audience because we're so used to seeing them at this point. Although this is maybe the most epic showing of dragons and kind of like reignited the interest in them. I want to read a tweet here from Jen at Shorty to Die For. Someone should add Beyonce music to last night's Game of Thrones. Who runs the world? Girls. And that means you too, John. Yeah.
Yeah. Did she say that too?
She said, and you too, John.
Yeah.
What I liked about this as well, it wasn't just Daenerys taking over and like kind of just destroying all of the ships in the port, but then when the Sons of Harpies were on the ground and they were slaughtering women, obviously it's like, oh, these guys are really bad. If we didn't already know, they're killing all the women too. Enter the Dothraki army.
Yeah,
so it was coming in from both sides.
The only weird thing was, and I actually loved when the Dothraki came in, but I just don't know where that scene was supposed to take place. Like, were there just a bunch of Sons of the Harpies and like former slaves mingling outside of the city for some reason?
At like the former slave meetup, like they had passed out a bunch of pamphlets like, hey, former slaves, let's go, all go chill.
Yeah.
So you kind of wanted like a mass exodus kind of thing?
I want them invading. I want the Dothraki like streaming into the city gates and seeing that happen. It was just weird that, like, again, a nitpick in a great episode, but it was just weird that like happened outside
Right.
the city.
Well, it's a budgetary thing. It's either you pick kind of an empty area and you set up an opportunity for the Dothraki to enter, or you spend the money to have like a whole city street with tons of chaos.
Yeah.
They put that money somewhere else in this episode, and I'm okay with that.
It was pretty amazing. I think that was, at least in my recollection, the first time we see an attacking Dothraki horde. For the very first time, we see what a
In action,
a
yeah.
horde of 40,000 Dothraki screamers, as Ilario, what's his last name, Mopatis in Pintos says. 40,000 Dothraki screamers coming down a hill, rounding a corner, and it was impressive. It was just like, I want them in the streets. I want them in the streets.
Was it all overshadowed? Would you think that this episode would have been better if we had the Daenerys kind of battle last episode and then we focused on the North in this one?
No, I think we got just enough of it. Because honestly, I would say that the Daenerys section of the episode for me is stronger than what we got in the North.
Whoa.
And I think that it was just the right amount. I think that Daenerys, like even from the first shot of the episode, you feel like you're getting something different. We don't normally get this many kind of like close-up insert shots, like the way that we're focusing on this ball of burning pitch, and then it's flung right into the city. I thought we got just enough of her burning the ship. We got just enough of the negotiation. The scene between the folks from the Iron Islands,
Yara and Theon?
the Greyjoys and Daenerys, that negotiation was like very, very efficient, but still fun to watch.
It's very different to the last few episodes where it's just drawn out conversations and drawn out scenes.
I feel like it would have been, there wasn't enough time last episode to do it effectively. And I think that they gave it just enough time in this episode, and it made for just one really thrilling installment where we're just getting tons of fan service, tons of forward action on both fronts.
And again, now that, so you're talking about like how we're moving the conversations, like things are actually progressing more quickly. Now that we are this far into the series, it actually, you're able to sort of see the Game of Thrones. Like everyone talks about, oh, in the Game of Thrones, you win or you die, and then, oh, the Game of Thrones, and I've got pieces on the board and all this stuff. You're starting to see now, like, and we've always known that Varys and Littlefinger, for example, are slow, deliberative players, but you're starting to see how other people play the same game and how that sort of winds up for them. So somebody like Ramsay, who just does stuff, damn the consequences, how things end up for him, how Daenerys has now learned to play the game. She's tried lots of different methods for playing this game. She's tried to be deliberative. She's tried to be diplomatic, and even if Tyrion can still be diplomatic, she might not be. That might not be her
Strong suit.
Yeah, her strong suit. But seeing now that she's got a way to play the game, like you can sort of hopefully project what's going to happen, and there will be fewer of those like long, drawn out, like stretching for time BS, because she doesn't need to do that anymore. She knows what she's doing.
Right.
And the fact that there were 3 different sets of negotiations in this, and it kind of still felt very like it was moving forward at a great pace. I liked that a lot. Speaking of negotiations, the ones with the 3 slavers, the masters, kind of ended very, very quickly. How's that moment where it was like Daenerys requires that one of you die to pay for this? Oh, him. And then I've already seen a GIF that's been made, which is quite incredible, of Grey Worm, like when he was doing the double slaughter with the throat opening, with the 2 that had decided to try and nominate another person. It just basically has a sparkly word, which was fabulous. And he's just like, fabulous. I like that.
That's really funny.
But the consequences now that they've saved this man's life, what is that going to in turn mean for Meereen?
I don't think it's going to mean anything poor for Meereen. I think that it was very effective and will be very effective. I love the fact that they saved a lowborn. They pointed him out. They're like, he's a lowborn. He doesn't represent us. Great. He's the one who's going to live. We trust him. We're trying to set up a power dynamic. And I think that kind of what John was arguing would happen to the Bolton army is actually what's going to happen in Essos, is as people discover that these masters aren't going to fight for them and that there is somebody who will fight for them, they are going to revolt. I think that they have a stronger, they'll have a stronger resolve to do it now that the dragons are that much bigger, that we know that she's not taking any chances, that she's willing to take people out. It's not just about conquering cities. She will execute people if necessary.
And that's the thing. She's not like standing by watching it happen, which is what Ramsay was doing in the North. She was on the dragon. Like she is a part of this now.
That's the difference.
She's getting her hands dirty.
Yeah.
We got 2 more dragons. Dragons need some riders.
Who would they let ride them?
Yeah, that's a great question.
There's a lot of debate online.
Tyrion would fly off. Like,
He's got
meaty little
strengthy,
grippers.
Yeah, strengthy arms.
That's my favorite way to describe hands, by the way.
Meaty
little grippers.
Meaty little grippers.
Little sausage fingers.
Yeah. He could do it. I mean, I would like to see, man, if Jorah can't get Daenerys, can he at least get on a goddamn dragon?
But he's not obsessed with dragons in the same
He's
way.
not obsessed with dragons, but it would still be cool. I don't think you can pass grayscale
Who
to a
else is
dragon.
worthy? I want Snow on a dragon with Ghost riding on like shotgun.
Yeah.
Speaking of, where was
Ghost?
Ghost?
He was lost in
That's a
the
great question.
pile of budget corpses.
I guess.
I'm
Well,
sure.
considering how terribly Jon commanded this frickin' battle, I'm glad that he wasn't there because Ghost would have died.
Maybe. That was a. I mean, even a short little scene like "Stay here, boy," whatever it was,
Yeah.
but just something because there was a noticeable absence there.
Well, so in between Meereen and before we get to the Battle of the Bastards, what do we got? What else?
The negotiations between Theon, Yara, and Daenerys. This was an amazing scene. I loved it. Theon, he's kind of coming back to who he was, but he still knows that Yara's a person that's supposed to be queen. But the fact that there is this great kind of, I hate saying girl power, but this moment where they're kind of bonding over women who want to be queen and want to dominate. And they're kind of finding common grounds where, hey, they both had really shitty dads. And they're like bonding over that. Hey, we both want power. We both want to lead.
But I also love how Yara
She's so confident.
draws. Yeah, she's really confident, and she draws it out of Daenerys. Where Daenerys is the one that's trying to get the dig in at Yara, saying your dad had a failed rebellion, your dad was crazy and he was abusive, and Yara's like, well, okay, we have something in common, and Daenerys,
Respect. Boom.
Right.
Respect.
all
Yeah.
right, that's fair.
Yeah. I really enjoyed their interplay. I also loved Tyrion's resolve throughout the whole thing because when the two of them show up, obviously he thinks that this is Theon trying to reclaim his throne. This is Theon trying to present his agenda, and he doesn't trust Theon one bit, and that he's not letting go of those old insults because it shows who you are.
Yeah.
I think that when Theon concedes that it's not about him, that it's about Yara, there's definitely a change all across that room. I also love that
Because it's not about Tyrion, it's about Dany. So
I
they
love
kind
that
of
Yara's not afraid to flirt a little bit too.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's into it. She's hoping Daenerys might be into it. Daenerys is at least tickled by the idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, or at least by
That
her
kind of
impertinence.
confidence gets acknowledged and
It's
appreciated.
serious. You gotta have confidence. But it's like a moment to cheer for. It's like it's a reformed potential hero and two of our other heroes joining forces. It's all the positivity and excitement that we've wanted for such a long time.
But I mean, she made a great point, Dany, when she was like, "You're only going to give me 100 ships. If this guy, your uncle's, going to give me 1,000, why you?" And it's like, "Oh, because he wants to put his dick in you."
Oh, right.
And then he'll kill you.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, let's not do that.
Yeah. 900 ships. We'll figure it out.
Also,
Yeah.
he's
Just
not,
burn
like,
'em.
how is he going to be able to? They're not going to build 1,000 ships, guys. They're
don't
not going
have
to build
time.
1,000. They don't have time. There are no trees on Pike on the Iron Islands.
And they've been
They
so
don't
busy
sow.
reaving and raiding and roving and
drowning.
raping and what other R words that are nefarious. They've been doing them all, and there's not enough trees left.
I love that Dany's stamping out the way of the Ironborn people. I
Yeah.
love that it's like, don't pay the iron price. Just be nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that rhymes.
Don't pay the iron price.
Just be
be
nice.
nice.
And you know what? They shook on it. So no more raping, pillaging, and being goddamn awful.
We'll
Yay.
see how long that lasts.
Yeah.
She was like, "This is our way," and the fact that Yara was defending that, but that's what we do.
Because
It's like,
that's because she knows one that no matter who she aligns with, that's not going to be a popular decision among the people, even if they get their freedom back from the Red Keep, from being a part of the Seven Kingdoms. Even if they get their freedom, no one's going to be on board with that.
and they've always wanted to isolate themselves.
Yara's a character who takes what she wants anyway. Like she's as much of an Ironborn as any, more so than a lot of other people, obviously. Like she does pay the iron price, and while she might not, this is going to be a controversial statement. We haven't seen scenes of her raping anybody necessarily, but I don't
She
doubt
smacked some butt.
she smacked some butt in a whorehouse. But I have no doubt that she has taken what she wants in the past, and the books also
Point to that.
point to that.
in the books.
Yeah.
Yeah. She kind of takes charge in her sexuality.
Yeah.
In more ways than one. But it was always a struggle for her as well, as it is to be a woman in this age. Lucky we're not in it, huh? Good. So
Big fan.
let's move on to the next negotiations. This is between Jon Snow and Ramsay. He's basically like, "Come on, 1-on-1, let's do it." And Ramsay's like, "Nah, mate, I got me an army. You do not." Which was a little bit of an anticlimax.
Yeah.
but those negotiations were a little bit different. Davos was a little bit more quiet than I'm used to in negotiations, because usually he can talk the talk.
Yeah, I don't think that he doesn't have beyond following Jon Snow, I don't think he's got a vested interest in this fight. You know, he is not the prime negotiator here, and notice nobody else besides Ramsay talked to either on the Bolton, Umber, Karstark
side.
Like
There was a throwing of a shaggy dog's head.
oh god, yeah.
A lobbing, if you will.
that's so sad.
Not happy about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that it was a smart gambit on the part of Jon, because he knows that he could take Ramsay one-on-one, and
Ramsay
it also,
knows it.
Yeah,
Snow could take him one-on-one.
Ramsay knows it too. And he's like, well, you know, it'll piss off Ramsay that I showed him up in front of his men. It'll make the men wonder, maybe I shouldn't be following this guy who wouldn't fight for us. Like, that's something. But how quickly Jon throws all sense of strategy out the window infuriates me to no end.
Everything he wasn't supposed to do. He did it.
Fucking did it.
He did it. So the question is that Jon's fault, or is that Sansa's fault?
Okay. So
let's
Sansa's been
recap real quick what happened here.
All right.
Yeah.
Sansa's been holding some cards close to her chest for some reason. She's sent out Littlefinger to get his army of the Vale, which apparently happened, but didn't decide to tell Jon. Basically, Jon realized he didn't have enough numbers at all and said that they can't allow themselves to be pincered, which Tormund's like, what?
What?
Yeah, no, pincered, come from, getting attacked from either side. And that absolute ignorance where he has no idea about battle strategies. It's like you have a smaller army and you also have an army of wildlings that have never actually done proper battle before using formations.
Right.
Go on with the other
Sansa's got this army that she hasn't told Jon about. Jon feels like, well, this is the most people we're going to get. We're not going to get any more, so we have to attack now. We're at our full strength before like another storm comes or whatever. So he feels like he's forced into this position, and definitely, like, Sansa warned him not to get provoked and to stick with, to be patient and to follow your battle plan for sure. And that she also said, you need more men. They had the whole discussion of, you need more men, we don't have more men. You need more men, we don't have more men. You need to have patience, we need to fight the battle. So, I don't understand, and for sure Jon got provoked. I just don't understand, and there better be a narrative reason why Sansa didn't say, between you and me, I cannot tell anybody else, you need to have patience. There is an army coming.
Yeah, give me 2 days.
Yeah, in 2 days or in 1 day or in 18 hours or whatever it's going to be. Because ultimately, I blame the incredible loss of numbers of like the wildlings and of 1-1 on Sansa, not on Jon. Because if Sansa had told Jon there is an army coming with 10,000 people and you will crush them if you just wait an additional 24 hours or 48 hours, we will win. If she had trusted Jon, and we have not seen why she doesn't trust Jon, they could have won. It doesn't make any sense to me. There better be a narrative reason.
What's Littlefinger saying in her ear then?
It's a great, and apparently we're gonna get some Littlefinger scenes next week. So I hope.
Yeah. Well, this is like Littlefinger's big entry back into the great game.
He's Gandalf
essentially.
from Return of the King.
Yeah. Well,
Let's be
from the
honest.
Two Towers.
Oh, Two Towers.
To be
sorry.
clear.
Yep.
But it's nefarious Gandalf. It's Gandalf with a purpose. Yeah, he's the Lord. He's effectively going to be the Lord of the Eyrie. He wants to marry Sansa and become Lord of Winterfell. Now he's gonna have the mountain ranges and he's gonna have the North behind him.
So he needed
and
the
he owns
North.
Harrenhal too.
And he has Harrenhal too. So what he's effectively trying to do, if he's sowed discord between Sansa and Jon, or placed any nugget of distrust between her and Jon, it was with the hope that Jon would get wiped out in this battle, taking out another potential player, one that Littlefinger is almost certain is a Targaryen. Come on.
You think he knows?
I think he does. The way that he insinuated to Sansa when they were in the crypts, not last season.
Last season,
was it?
Yeah, when they were in the crypts, when he dropped her off to be married off to Ramsay Bolton, he insinuated like that, obviously you don't, there's more to the story here. Do you really believe your father's story about Jon's parentage?
So Jon could never be the Lord of Winterfell.
No. Well, Jon is actually the rightful king. If you think about it, before Robert's Rebellion even happened, he is the oldest living Targaryen.
But he's also, he's a bastard regardless. He's not a legitimized son, except for the fact that Robb, and I think he did this on the show, legitimized Jon before he went into his wedding. So like there is a parchment somewhere legitimizing Jon as a Stark,
But he didn't
and saying
take
that he is the heir. Like in the event of blah 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 blah, you are a Stark, and because as Robb being King of the North, he's allowed to do that. Regardless, getting back to the battle, just ultimately a purposeless waste of life, which is I think obviously a recurring theme in the series.
Here's a question from Abraham Tasso at Tasso Abraham. Was Sansa willing to let her half-brother die in battle just to keep her little secret? Why didn't she tell Jon?
So let's say that during those negotiations, they actually brought Rickon out, and Ramsay said, I was cutting him almost, or something awfully morbid, and be like, for every sort of hour that this doesn't happen. And like he put kind of the pressure on Jon, so there wasn't a time kind of like...
But they obviously agreed to meet, or Jon rode up and they saw Jon riding up, so they came out of Winterfell. Like Jon, if he had known, could have waited. And and Sansa knew an army was coming. She wrote to ask for an army. She knew an army was coming. As much as I've enjoyed Sansa's arc the last 3 seasons of her like going from pitiful, helpless girl in the Red Keep marrying Tyrion to being used as a pawn to coming into her own and being a player on the stage, this was to me a foolish move that wasted wasted a huge amount of her potential power as the potential warden of the North.
Because of Littlefinger.
Because of Littlefinger, or because of her not trusting people, or I'm not sure what it is.
So the battle does happen. Ramsay decides to make a sport. Yeah, he loves his sport of Rickon and sets him free to run back to Jon because both armies are facing off, waiting for each other. And he's got this longbow. I didn't think Ramsay was great at archery. Turns out the further Rickon runs away, the easier he is to hit.
Apparently.
Unless Ramsay was just toying with him the whole time.
He does like to do that.
Danny Low T at Danny Low T UW9 writes, if Rickon ran in a zigzag pattern, he would have lived. FPS 101. Never run in a straight line against a sniper.
Yes.
Yeah, but Rickon plays RTS, so he's only used to top-down strategy.
That's true. Yeah.
That was a really sad moment because it actually made out as if he was fine. He was so close. Jon was there riding with his arm outstretched. You know, these arrows weren't really hitting the mark. And then
I feel like it's so easy to, like, as you're watching that for the first time, to kind of like imprint your own idea of how this should play out or how you want it to play out as it's happening. Like, I wanted him so badly because we had just had this conversation between him and Sansa about not getting provoked. He's the one who lays traps. He's going to lead you into a trap.
Yep.
For him to already accept that Rickon is probably dead, and while Rickon is still running, before he even gets hit, ride past Rickon straight at Ramsay and throw Ramsay off. Like, I was like hoping for something, either that or like Rickon gets hit. He watches him fall. He turns and goes back to his army and goes back to waiting. Like something, anything, not what happened, because it just betrays every bit of confidence we've ever had in Jon as a military commander. Just kind of falls away.
I just had a thought with all the talk of Rickon. There was one point when Sansa's talking to Jon and she says, you have to accept that Rickon is lost. If Ramsay has Rickon, he will die.
Yeah.
And I wonder, is Sansa willing to sacrifice Rickon so that she can become the heir to Winterfell?
I think that ain't nobody is ever going to take her power away again. And
it's like that Dany thing.
Yeah.
Not again.
Not again. And I think that she doesn't trust Jon because Jon doesn't believe her when it comes to Ramsay. She's been talking about the threat of Ramsay this whole time, and he's been treating her like a woman instead of like an experienced ally.
And who knows Ramsay better than anyone there in the fight anyway.
And I think that she was willing to let him fall in service of her ascendance because she's not going to be second fiddle to somebody who's going to treat her like cattle
But
again.
do you think that she was willing to sacrifice her younger, legitimized brother?
I don't think it was a sacrifice. I think it was an acknowledgement that this is where we're at, and chances are I know Ramsay.
She's moved past grief already to acceptance.
Yeah. I think that she certainly had hope that Jon would stick to his plan and be able to last long enough that the Eyrie army could help, save the day. But like, damn, was this a disaster?
I kind of feel like it's a little bit on Jon as well. It's like he's not thinking long term at all. He even spoke to Melisandre beforehand being like, hey, if I die, don't bring me back. Like, if I die, I'm done.
Well, yeah, because I don't think he wants to, I think that he was trying to think long-term before he died. and now he's thinking about like how can we accomplish what we need to accomplish. Just like well, maybe that's not even it. Maybe it's just like I'm doing me now, like, and me wants vengeance. I don't know.
I don't even feel like he's fueled by vengeance. I feel like,
You don't think so?
he's just like one last hurrah.
You don't think that well, we can get to the end of the battle later, but like, you don't think that what he did at the end of the battle, you don't think that him rushing headlong by himself was fueled by like vengeance and not by tactics or by long-term thinking?
I don't think it's fueled by tactics or long-term thinking, but I think it's less about vengeance and more about desperation. This is somebody who doesn't want to be alive right now.
Yes.
Who had his heart broken by everyone he trusted stabbing him in the front and in the back. This is a guy who we've seen from Beric Dondarrion that every time you're brought back, a little bit less of you comes with you.
I've noticed that a little bit less.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of his general empathy for other people and thinking about the long term, all of his strategy is kind of gone out the window. This is somebody who is hanging on by just a thread, and he's trying to do some good in the time that he has left, but he is ready for oblivion. He's seeking oblivion. And I think that part of him wanted this plan to go out the window. I think part of him really just wants to die, and hopefully he takes Ramsay with him, but he doesn't really have any value in himself anymore.
I've noticed that. And Melisandre, she's, again, also ran out of puff. She used to be, like, completely on it. She was strategizing. She had advice for everything. And this advice, he's, like, looking to her, help me, what should I do? And she's just like, win, don't lose. And it was like, what? That's it? That's all you've got? And she's like, you know what? The law of the light. If he tells me to do something, then I guess I'll do it. But until then, I'll just sit here and mosey. And then when Davos found,
let's talk about this.
Yes.
What was the purpose of this scene? Davos finding that figurine that he...
I kind of like the difference, like when Tormund and Davos were talking, because they both go into battle very, very differently.
Sure.
Tormund likes to drink so he can sleep. Davos cannot sleep, so he roams around. And I think that set it up so he could walk into the camp where Stannis was set up, where he burnt Shireen. And lo and behold, he stumbles upon this little sculpture that I think he had given to Shireen. Was it an elk or a...
It was a stag.
A Baratheon stag.
Right. Which happened to be under the pyre where she'd burnt.
But what's the purpose of him finding that?
The purpose is to close the loop on Davos's story with Melisandre and with Stannis.
Is he going to kill her?
He's certainly going to try. He's not going to trust her anymore. All the things that he's done in the service of Stannis, he now has reason to doubt. Like he had this scene with Tormund where he talks about demons in the ears of Stannis and saying that, maybe it wasn't entirely Stannis' fault. He needs to come to terms with the fact that he supported and put his faith in somebody who has done every horrible thing possible. He needs to take
under
vengeance.
the advice of Melisandre.
Under the advice of Melisandre, fine. He's going to take his vengeance on Melisandre, but also he needs to come to terms with the fact that his loyalties were misplaced and that it's going to forever change him. I think it's just to get him to where he needs to be at the end of the series.
He will never forgive her for that.
No.
Like he's gonna. There's a flip that's gonna switch in him. A switch that's gonna flip.
So the battle happens.
What a great battle, though! Can we talk about some of these moments that were just like
beautifully shot battle? Yeah, and like it was really wonderfully shot. I loved it a lot. And the thing that I appreciated about it is it wasn't like a Paul Greengrass like shaky cam battle that made you confused, but you did feel like you were in the battle, and it was confusing, but not because of like tricky camera work, just because being in the battle
is chaotic.
And there were moments when I was like, oh my God, who are you swinging a sword at right now? And I don't think
couldn't tell the difference.
A lot of the times you couldn't tell. Sometimes
there was like a helm, maybe.
There was a helm or a badge, but like there were moments when even like Karstarks would come by, and I'd be like, oh, is that a wildling or a Karstark? They look so similar.
Yeah, so it was messy.
Which I think is the point of it. I don't think that was unintentional.
I think when Jon's horse got shot out from under him, because like Ramsay's just like loosing arrows like nobody's business, and there he is just with a sword, just with Longclaw, watching the frontline cavalry running towards him, and you just see it from his point of view, and he's just like, all right,
shit,
bring it. This is what's going to happen. Then this is how I go down. And then knowing that all these men kind of rush behind him, and like, it's like that was beautiful. But then again, it shows Ramsay's just delinquency almost when he just keeps saying, yep, keep firing. And they're like, our men are there. Nah, it's good.
Doesn't matter. I mean, he's got more than twice as many men, so he can afford to shoot down accidentally shoot down that many people because he just has overwhelming numbers. So like even if you're killing equal numbers of people on the battlefield, you'll still have more people behind you ready to encircle them in your
Deadly
Tortuga
pincer
movement.
trap.
Yeah,
Yeah.
deadly pincer trap.
I did like how the camera followed that one shot arrow that was like across the battlefield. Thought that was really beautifully done as well.
Yeah, the director Miguel Sapochnik did a really spectacular job, like across the board. Every scene was like purposefully shot. This is a very different kind of battle scene than we've ever had before.
It looked like it was one shot, or they were attempting to make it like that one shot.
Yeah. Well, it's like you watch some of the shots, like you can tell, like, okay, this shot of John, there was like that one long shot of John as he fought several people kind of running through the fray. You can tell that that was shot on location and that a lot of the people riding by were CGI. And then it's sort of like watching him in this choreographed, one choreographed shot, which is like really brilliantly performed on his part. And then there was a shot, I think like about a minute later, which was kind of like, okay, obviously a green screen as things are happening around him. And it's like very interesting to like pinpoint how they were able to get this very chaotic feel in a variety of different ways.
Yeah.
But also there's something happening all the time. Like there would be, and this is where I feel like John has a particular sort of fate bestowed upon him because he was going to fight someone not knowing that someone was about to cleave him from behind and boom, that got, he got taken out by a horse, and then like things kept happening where he should have died 12 times by now.
Yeah, yeah.
And he stayed alive. So it's like there is so much more to John and him being alive than he even realizes. And it's all happening behind him. At one stage you see a man riding on a horse without a head.
Yeah.
Like
That's
that kind of
Christopher
stuff.
Walken,
You're
turns
like,
out.
what is happening?
Thank you.
I didn't get it.
Is Sleepy Hollow to
That's
Tim
why.
Burton
Why would
film.
I watch that? Scary.
It's good. Good movie.
So that's what I like. Do you agree that maybe John has there's fate bestowed upon him?
No,
There's
I thi-
too many coincidences.
I think it was dumb luck.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah, I mean, like, lots of people made it through that battle. It wasn't just John. And I do think it was somewhat unrealistic that, like, in the first few volleys, he didn't get hit.
That's the thing, when they all came down.
There
and
was
he
like
kind of
one where he like spun and deflected 2 arrows, and I'm
Yeah.
like, motherfucker, you don't know how to do that.
Yeah. You're not an airbender.
Right.
But at the same time, like, all right, unrealistic, like, trickery to make sure that our hero survives is different than like insinuating that gods or fates are moving the arrows around him.
But we have heard before that there are particular people that have a purpose, and the fact that they could bring John back, I feel like he has a greater purpose.
Yes, but one of the great themes of Game of Thrones has been that kind of the fate doesn't mean shit. That things can come down to dumb luck or bad luck or just not considering the odds. And I feel like as an audience, we were given every reason to believe that, say, Rob's rebellion was going to be successful and that he was going to be progressing through the series. And then ultimately he got taken out by kind of believing his own hype.
Yeah.
That we had Ned Stark's release all but, signed off on in the first season, and then he still got taken out. I think that it very much is dumb luck, and it's just kind of like saying, like, dude, you fucked up in every possible way, and like, I don't know how people felt about, I don't know how you felt about him just beating Ramsay to death with his bare hands, but it's also kind of like pathetic and desperate. It's like,
But that's exactly what we were explaining he is at the moment inside.
Yeah.
That's all he feels.
Yeah. I mean, again, as unrealistic as it was, I loved the trio of 1-1 John and Tormund like running up the hill.
Yeah,
I mean,
man.
it was like, to me, that was prime best Two Towers.
that was like Lord of the Rings running.
It was like
Gimli,
running down
Legolas.
the marches.
Yeah, man.
That was rad. I loved, like, there's so much to love about that last bit. It's like it is very classically fantasy heroic. You have a giant and like a dwarf and a human. Basically, Tormund's a dwarf. Let's be honest.
Just tall
I mean,
dwarf.
he's not like a dwarf, but he's like a northern
dwarf of culture.
bearded, dwarven culture, and a human like running for vengeance, punching down a fucking door.
Don't
and
hold it. Just destroy it.
Just destroy the door.
1-1.
And then
So many people commenting, why didn't 1-1 have like a weapon? Why not just cut down
Because
a
he's
tree
a
and make a...
giant.
I agree. We've previously seen him with these giant tree trunks, just like
Right.
swinging
Yeah,
things.
where
He
was
should have had
that?
a tree trunk.
Just a trunk.
Just a tree trunk.
Because he was just like pushing people over.
It was still rad.
Stop. Don't.
Still
Still
really,
pretty
really
rad,
cool.
though.
I like them.
Just before that, though, before they were able to escape from the trap, the Admiral Akbar kind of like surrounding, they used the Grecian phalanx formation.
They did.
Which was, just to completely surround them. But the fact that they were pushed up against a mound of dead bodies, well, or mostly dead or nearly dead bodies, that was also really frightening. And when John was trampled as they were getting completely sardined in together, the way that they conveyed that claustrophobic, smothering, stomping, stampeding was really incredible. I found myself kind of like sharply intaking breath, just trying to get out of there as well. I think they did a really good job. Did you find that?
No, I mean, yeah, it was claustrophobic. It was terrifying. I think they did it. Like the makeup was a great job. He just looked destroyed after he was able to finally climb out of there, and that moment in the battle did a great job of not telegraphing what was going to happen next. I didn't know. I mean, I figured he would survive. I would never really thought that he was going to die in this battle. But I didn't know if he was just going to be buried by so many bodies that he'd be overlooked and he'd come out of it later and meet up with Sansa, or if he would figure out a way to rally. Like at one point, I felt I saw wildling, armless, legless wildlings still crawling around trying to hack away at people because they're fucking wildlings and they don't give a shit if they don't feel good. They will fight. So I didn't know what the end game of him being under the bodies was, but it was claustrophobic.
Yeah.
It was awful. It was just a
Nuri
terrible
Nelson
experience.
at Callaghan agrees. Says, I've honestly never felt so suffocated as I did when John was buried in the press of those dead bodies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was so daunting. Like they were just piled on top of one another. And the way that the formation that Ramsay's army had was very well done. So you've got the shield that would block and push in, they'd step in, and a giant long spear that would they were picking people apart.
I think it's just the beauty of it is it felt like some of the highest stakes that Game of Thrones has ever had, or at least has had in a very long time.
And it needed cliched rescue
Right.
of the army coming
Yes,
forth.
but we didn't know necessarily.
They didn't know to look towards the sun. Was it the sun?
Right, yeah, on the light of the third day.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But we didn't know necessarily that they were going to get there in time. It kept moving back and forth between Jon has this and Jon's doomed.
Yeah.
And it's the first time in a long time that I've really honestly thought a character was in serious danger.
Yeah. People were tweeting that actually going, we're going to lose Jon. What happens to this without Snoo? Snoo?
Snoo.
Snoo.
Um,
Snoo, snoo.
I did also like when the Vale cavalry arrived, they just mowed down that formation.
Yeah.
That was just beautiful.
Yeah.
I actually really appreciated that.
I mean, yeah, it was, again, really well shot. I loved the fact that we've never seen the Knights of the Vale in action before. And they are a heraldic force, the likes of which Westeros, they're well regarded, I think, in Westeros.
They're supposed to be very battle hungry since they haven't actually been in a fight for a wee while now.
The only thing that I missed was Bronzion Royce, the guy with the crazy breastplate that we've seen a couple times
Yeah.
who's trying to train Robin Aaron.
Yeah.
I wanted him at the lead, in his breastplate with runes on it. But other than that, really cool.
Really, really cool. Justine at Justine Cashew writes, the most satisfying moment was Ramsay's hounds eating him to shreds after he said they were loyal to him.
Metaphor.
Yeah. I was really, really pleased when he died.
He was saying that. He goes, they won't get me. And Sansa's like, you starved them. You did this.
So so Ramsay is dead.
Yeah.
Are we?
great.
Do we have satisfaction with
Great way to go.
everything?
I liked that. He got the shit beaten out of him by Jon Snow. The snot
Yeah.
punched from his face.
Look, I'm not going to say that this is a perfect episode, and there are plenty of people who are going to jump to that conclusion. I think that it hit all the right notes. I guess, I don't know. I thought that his death would feel more satisfying, and that's not to say that it wasn't very satisfying, but it would have felt more satisfying on the battlefield.
Would you have liked him flayed?
Well, no, not flayed. I wanted Jon to stop beating the crap out of him when he sees Sansa, look up, realize that this life isn't his to take, pass her a dagger, and her to just drive it through his heart. I wanted it to be more personal, personally.
But then, then we'd have people saying, I wanted to be more poetic.
But Sansa also,
Everyone has wants something.
she became a killer without doing the killing.
Like
Right.
Littlefinger.
She did not
Her
get her
hands
hands
are
to it.
clean.
Yeah, exactly. She was able to see it happen and walk away.
So I agree that It was a somewhat satisfactory death. It didn't leave me like cheering at the end, and nor do I think it's supposed to. Like, it's grisly and it's awful. And Sansa has lost, I think. I mean, obviously she's a great player of the game now, and she's doing a good job to a certain extent.
She's not innocent anymore.
But she's not innocent, and like her smile as she walked away from the camera or walked towards the camera, like sort of speaks to that. Also, there's a certain amount of satisfaction that I would have had because seeing Theon take down Ramsay. And as bad as, and I'm not saying that one is worse than the other. What happened to Sansa getting raped versus Ramsay getting tortured. But we spent so much more time with Theon getting tortured by Ramsay. We spent so much more time with Theon and Ramsay together, and we saw the way that Ramsay works with Theon much more than with Sansa, and she was with him for less time. And I'm not comparing the severity. I'm just saying our emotional investment with what happened with Theon, to me, was greater. And so I would have preferred to see a Greyjoy where, Yara and Theon combined take out Ramsay. That being said, I'm glad it was the Starks. Like, he's headed in for the Starks the whole time. Like, the Starks and the Boltons are like mortal, 2,000-year-old enemies. So in that respect, it was very good.
Right, and just that awesome shot of the flayed man banner falling and the wolf banner going back up.
That's when we fist
It's just
pumped.
like,
Yeah.
cheers, man.
It
We
wasn't
did
at
it.
Ramsay's death. It was the fact that we've got Winterfell back.
So does that
Yeah.
mean next episode, the final episode of the season, during the opening credit sequence, we're not going to see that Stark direwolf broken on the floor in the
CGI?
gonna be
in the
whole
CGI
again.
opening credit Winterfell? Are we gonna and a flayed man banner? Are we gonna actually see wolves again?
We'll
That'd
find
be
out.
nice.
I sure hope so.
I
Yeah.
think so. They've been pretty good and on top of it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Although we did see Bravos this episode, I'm not sure we didn't go to Bravos.
right. I think that structurally also there's this very beautiful dovetailing of, we had at the very beginning of the series, we didn't really have a clear villain. Like Littlefinger was kind of villainous, and like Joffrey was a bit of a little asshat, but he wasn't in power yet. Then he very effectively became our villain to root against when he killed Ned Stark. He was our villain until he passed away in season 4, and then all of a sudden we had Ramsay as kind of our new chief villain. And now to have him effectively killed by the forces of Littlefinger.
Will Euron step up?
I mean, Euron is obviously going to be villainous, but no, Littlefinger is effectively stepping back onto the world stage. He's finally going to be a major character on this show again, which he hasn't been for a long time. Really, arguably since season 1.
Yeah.
He's been a background player ever since then. And we're going to see all of his efforts take fruit in, our kind of stunted seasons 7 and 8.
Well, so there's still a ton of stuff that happened this season that we don't have answers to. We don't have answers to what the hell is happening in Dorne.
Right.
Oh, sorry. I don't think anyone cares.
I know that nobody cares,
But they're still gonna
if
show
you're-
up.
Yeah, if you're gonna
It's gonna happen,
assassinate,
yeah.
if you're gonna assassinate the Prince of Dorne and the war, effectively, like,
That's all they did this season.
Yeah.
That's it.
Then
While
there
they've been
needs to be
building
some
their
sort of
army,
follow-up.
man, they're gonna show up. They're gonna show up at the Red Keep next episode in the middle of Cersei's goddamn trial, and all of this stuff between the Faith and the houses. It's not gonna matter because
So-
they're gonna get invaded.
There's one plot. What's going to happen with Sam and Gilly? Like,
Yeah.
last we saw of them was taking a sword away.
Yeah.
For sure is going to piss off his dad.
Yep.
And he guess he's going to become a maester. They have less than 2 seasons. I mean, 2
It's like, really, we're gonna do that whole thing in Old Town and all that stuff in less
Yeah.
than 2 seasons?
He's a fast reader.
We haven't seen Bran since episode 3 or 4 of this season.
No, hold the door was only like 3
5.
weeks ago.
That was episode 5.
Oh,
That
5.
was 4 episodes ago.
All right,
But
so
still, there's been a big shift, a focal shift in the second half of the season.
Well,
We've got a
no,
lot to catch up on.
then it was 4 episodes ago because we had Benjen show up the episode after that.
Oh.
So
Well, okay, all right. But we haven't progressed his story.
Yeah, it was a huge start, and then it
Fine.
kind of
Yeah.
fizzed. Yeah, gotcha. I
And
getcha.
and I know a lot of people don't like the Bran storyline. I have always loved the Bran storyline.
It's untapped so much power.
Yeah.
Well, here's the question: do we find out next week that Jon's a Targaryen?
No.
Do we
No,
get to
no,
see what's in the
no.
Tower of Joy next episode?
No.
No.
No?
No.
All right.
Someone was tweeting saying that Ramsay said something that kind of stuck with him, saying to Sansa, "You're a part of me now," or "I'm a part of you now," or something like that. Do you think that Ramsay impregnated Sansa?
No.
No.
Is she not carrying a little Ramsay Bolton?
I think that he was saying, you've learned from me more than you want to admit to yourself.
Right. Like, I'll always haunt you. I'll always be a part of you. You can't get rid of me.
That kind of fan theory is like all the Arya, Faceless Man, like Fight Club BS of who's playing, who's wearing a face, and who's wearing a face on a face on a face. All that's just people like trying to come up with a theory so that they can get internet famous for 24 hours. I don't believe that she's pregnant.
I wouldn't put it past. I mean, if it happens, I wouldn't be like, I didn't see that coming. I'd be like, yeah, makes sense.
I guess I wouldn't say I didn't see that coming, but I also don't think that that's.
I just think it's
direction.
lame.
It's lame.
It's lame.
Do you think Jon's going to find out that Sansa was keeping a secret?
Yes.
Yes, it's pretty obvious.
She obviously knew.
Because she showed up with Littlefinger.
What are the consequences from that, do you think?
He's not going to ever trust her again. I don't really know. I don't know what's going to be Jon's frame of mind after this battle because he pretty effectively fucked up. The question is, Sansa is Lady of Winterfell now. Mm-hmm. She is in charge. So it's really up to her. The big thing that's going to come from Jon is having his power taken away. He's no longer in charge of the army. Most of his men are dead.
Yeah.
He effectively fucked up, so the people who are left aren't going to have so much faith in him, and now he doesn't have control over what's going on in this building. So if she decides to get with Littlefinger, I don't know.
I was going to say, so his only job now is to play matchmaker between Tormund and Brienne.
Pretty much.
He's got to bring Tormund
got a
to the
wingman.
south. Yeah.
Do you think that Sansa is indebted to Littlefinger?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, obviously.
And now, is he going to...
But yes.
He also sold her to Ramsay.
Yeah, she is. I would say she is indebted to him to a certain extent because, he saved her bacon.
Yep.
But at the same time, I think that she is now in a position to say, I might be indebted to you. You are never going to call in that debt.
Yeah,
I am
okay.
not going to listen if you call in that debt. I am not interested in hearing about it because, what are you going to do? Ask the Vale to attack me? The Vale will not attack me.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you
That's
think they're going to burn all the bodies from the battlefield? Because as soon as they were all dying and that giant mound was happening, I'm like, that's another White Walker army.
I sure hope so. I mean,
Yeah.
the people that know that needs to get done are in Winterfell now. Tormund and Jon know that needs to get done.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll get done.
I hope
And
so.
my last question, do you think that this episode was worth the wait for the season?
Yes.
Hey!
I thought it was a great episode.
It's great.
Small nitpicks here and there, but a really fun, great watch.
So
Yeah.
overall, what would you give it out of 10?
I'd give it a 9 out of 10. It was greatly enjoyable, really expertly realized. Minor nitpicks with how the stories are progressing, but it was very much worth the wait and very enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
I would give it 8.5, 9 bastards out of 10 bastards. I think that there's a lot of great stuff that happened. I think that in the Game of Thrones pantheon of great episodes, this is probably one of the top 10 or 15 episodes. There's just at this point so many questions left unanswered that I'm part of it is I'm just disappointed that we're at the end of the season.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing that's dragging the bastard point tally down for me.
There are a few people tweeting saying that Hardhome is still their favorite in comparison to these two. I give this one a 9.5 out of 10. Ticked a lot of boxes for me, left me feeling very, very satisfied. And it's finally nice to have the people that you're rooting for win for once.
I mean, when you're talking about big battles, though, I between Hardhome and this, Watchers on the Wall still wins for me.
Which one was Watchers of the Wall again?
That's one where the wildlings attack the wall and they have to hold the wall. And that, where
Yeah,
Jon
right.
teams up with Alistair Thorne and you get great Dolorous Ed moments and Pip and Grin.
Wasn't one
die.
opening that door too?
Yeah.
He's a good... You've got a door opener and a door holder.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is that,
That,
you
so
like,
to me,
feelings.
that is the best of all the battle episodes to me.
All right.
And people are going to be like, what about Blackwater? It was fine.
Blackwater was good.
It was pretty good.
That's good. Yeah, it's fine. Oh, actually, funny that you bring that up because Tyrion has released the information that there is a whole shitload of
He brought it back
wildfire.
up. He didn't say that it's still down there.
Well, Qyburn and Cersei have been talking about it, though.
That's
Okay.
the secret, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what the
Fire.
secret that they're talking about.
Oh,
is.
okay.
And you can't. I think the one thing you can't really fight fire with is fire. So does that eliminate the dragons as a threat? Good.
What you certainly don't want is a bunch of dragons breathing fire down onto King's Landing when there are caches of wildfire everywhere.
That is true. What did you think of this episode? Battle of the Bastards, it actually happened. Talk about your feelings down below. We're going to join you next week for the finale of season 6 for TV Show. That hashtag obviously still active. Make sure you use the hashtag instead of tagging us directly because I watched it a little bit later and someone spoiled it for me. But that doesn't matter because we'll be back next week. Game of Thrones. We'll catch you then. Goodbye.
Welcome to my Gothel. What's that about?
I'd like to know what a Gothel is. Is it like a brothel?